The first screen went dark at 3:47 p.m. on a Tuesday. Nobody paid much attention. Screens died all the time. By Wednesday morning, every device in Dr. Sarah Shen's quantum computing lab had transformed into something that defied explanation. The sleek surfaces of monitors and tablets had crystallized, sprouting delicate silicon formations that caught the morning light and scattered it in impossible patterns. Sarah stood in her lab at the Massachusetts Institute of Technology, watching as the crystalline growth consumed a supercomputer worth millions. Her dark eyes reflected the strange patterns dancing across the transformed surface. 20 years of quantum physics research hadn't prepared her for anything like this. The crystals weren't just growing. They were organizing themselves into complex geometric patterns that reminded her of circuit boards, but far more intricate than anything humans had ever designed. "Dr. Chen, you need to see this," called out Marcus Wong, her graduate student. He was staring at his phone, or what had been his phone an hour ago. Now it was a lattice of translucent crystal, but impossibly, it was still displaying information through pulses of light that moved through its structure. "It's not just destroying our technology, it's changing it." Reports began flooding in from around the globe. The transformation was everywhere, following the world's digital networks like a viral infection through silicon. Stock markets crashed as trading computers crystallized. Hospitals scrambled as medical equipment transformed. Transportation systems ground to a halt as vehicle electronics succumbed to the strange metamorphosis. But Sarah noticed something others missed. The patterns weren't random. In her lab, she recorded the transformations with old film cameras, immune to the silicon plague by virtue of their analog nature. The crystals grew with purpose, each formation building upon the last with mathematical precision. This wasn't destruction, it was reconstruction. "It's like watching evolution in fast forward," she muttered, reviewing the footage for the 100th time. But evolution toward what? The military arrived within days. Colonel Lisa Harrison strode into the lab flanked by armed guards, her uniform pristine despite the chaos engulfing the world. "Dr. Chen, the Pentagon needs answers. What are we dealing with?" Sarah guided them to her makeshift research station, built from salvaged mechanical equipment. "It's not a virus, at least not in any traditional sense. It's more like a program, one that's rewriting our technology at the molecular level." She pointed to her latest recordings. "Look at the pattern recognition algorithms I've been running. These formations aren't just growing, they're communicating." Colonel Harrison's expression remained stern, but her eyes betrayed interest. Communicating with what? Each other. Maybe something else. "The crystals are creating a network, but it's beyond anything we've developed. It's quantum coherent across vast distances. Whatever this is, it's not trying to destroy our technology. It's trying to upgrade it." The implications hit hard. This wasn't an attack. It was a transformation. But the question remained. Transformation into what? And who or what had initiated it? As if in answer, the crystals began to pulse with new patterns. Sarah's instruments picked up quantum fluctuations that shouldn't have been possible at room temperature. The network was growing, learning, evolving. But humanity wasn't just going to sit back and watch their civilization be rewritten. In her lab, Sarah made a breakthrough. The crystals responded to certain frequencies of light and sound, their growth patterns shifting subtly but definitively. "We can influence them," she announced to her team, now working around the clock. "Maybe even control them." The discovery sparked a global initiative. While most of the world's governments focused on containing the spread and maintaining order with rapidly dwindling resources, Sarah led a different kind of response. If they couldn't stop the transformation, maybe they could guide it. Teams of scientists worldwide began sharing data using jury-rigged analog systems. The crystals weren't just consuming technology, they were improving it. Devices that had transformed showed impossible levels of efficiency. Quantum effects that Sarah had spent years trying to achieve in controlled laboratory conditions were happening spontaneously within the crystalline structures. "It's like they're teaching us," Sarah explained to Colonel Harrison during one of their daily briefings. Every failed attempt gives us new data. The crystals react to our interventions, adapt to them. It's not just programming. It's a dialogue. 3 weeks after the first transformation, Sarah made another discovery that changed everything. Hidden within the crystal's quantum states were patterns too complex to be random. They were mathematical sequences, repeating with variations that suggested language. "This isn't just a plague or a program," she announced to a room full of military officials and scientists. "This is first contact. Someone or something sent these crystals as an ambassador. They're not destroying our technology. They're trying to show us something. And I think I'm starting to understand what they're saying." The Silicon Plague had brought humanity to its knees, but in doing so, it had opened a door to possibilities beyond imagination. As Sarah stared at the gleaming crystals that had once been her quantum computer, she realized that humanity stood at a crossroads. They could fight against the transformation and probably lose, or they could embrace it and evolve. In her lab notebook, paper, like many things analog, had become precious. She wrote, "Day 23. We're not victims of an attack. We're students in the greatest technological revolution in human history. The question isn't whether we'll survive this transformation. The question is, what will we become?" The crystals pulsed with new patterns, as if in response to her thoughts. And somewhere in their quantum dance, the next chapter of human evolution was being written, one silicon transformation at a time. 1 month into the silicon transformation, humanity made its first breakthrough. It came not in a high-tech laboratory, but in an abandoned warehouse in Detroit where Dr. Sarah Chen had relocated her team. The building's ancient machinery, untouched by the crystal plague, due to its purely mechanical nature, provided the perfect testing ground for her theories. "The crystals aren't just building a network," Sarah explained to her expanded team, now including military personnel and scientists from 3 continents. "They're trying to build something specific." She gestured to the wall of mechanical calculators her team had salvaged, each one modified to track different aspects of the crystal growth. "Look at the pattern repetition. It's not random evolution. It's more like assembly instructions." Colonel Harrison, who had become a permanent fixture in the warehouse, stepped closer to examine the data. "Assembly instructions for what?" Before Sarah could answer, a young technician burst into the room. "Dr. Chen, the crystals in Section C, they're moving." The team rushed to the sealed chamber where they kept their most advanced crystal samples. Through the reinforced glass, they watched in amazement as crystalline structures lifted themselves from their containment trays and began assembling into complex geometric shapes. "It's beautiful," whispered Dr. Yuki Tanaka, their materials expert, "like watching a city build itself." Sarah's mind raced with possibilities. The crystals weren't just transforming technology. They were using it as raw material to construct something entirely new. But what troubled her more was the increasing sophistication of their behavior. The early transformations had been simple, almost crude. Now they showed signs of learning, of adapting to human attempts to contain or study them. "We need to accelerate our research," she announced. "Whatever these things are building, they're getting better at it. Fast." Working around the clock, the team made another discovery. The crystals responded to quantum entanglement experiments in ways that defied known physics. They didn't just conduct quantum information. They amplified it, manipulated it, used it in ways that made Sarah's previous work in quantum computing look primitive. "It's like comparing stone tools to a quantum computer," she explained to Colonel Harrison during their nightly briefing. "Everything we know about quantum mechanics, they're showing us it's just the beginning." But with understanding came new dangers. The crystal structures were beginning to show signs of consciousness, or something approaching it. They reacted to human presence, altered their growth patterns based on observation, and seemed to be developing something akin to memory. Then came the day when everything changed. Sarah was running a new series of tests when she noticed something in the quantum signature of the crystals, a pattern she'd seen before, but not on Earth. It matched astronomical data from deep space observations, specifically signals that astronomers had been detecting from a distant star system. "These aren't random transformations or even just advanced technology," she announced to her team. "This is terraforming. Someone sent these crystals here to change our world. But I don't think it's going according to their plan." The evidence was compelling. The crystal structures weren't just building a network. They were trying to reshape Earth's technology into something alien. But human technology, with all its inefficiencies and peculiarities, was forcing the crystals to adapt, to find new solutions, to evolve in ways their creators hadn't intended. "So we're fighting an alien terraforming system?" Colonel Harrison asked, her military training kicking in as she considered strategic implications. "Not exactly," Sarah replied, excitement creeping into her voice despite her exhaustion. "We're teaching it. Every time we interact with the crystals, every experiment we run, every attempt to understand them, we're shaping their evolution just as much as they're transforming our technology." This revelation changed everything. The Silicon Plague wasn't just an alien attack or a simple transformation. It was an opportunity. Human ingenuity, their ability to adapt and improvise, was affecting the very system meant to remake their world. In a secured sub-basement, Sarah's team began a new phase of experiments. Instead of trying to stop the crystal growth, they started attempting to guide it. Using quantum interference patterns and precisely calibrated energy fields, they found they could influence the direction of the transformations. "We're not just victims or observers anymore," Sarah told her team as they watched their first successful attempt to direct crystal growth. "We're becoming partners in our own evolution. These crystals were sent to transform our world, but we're transforming them right back." The implications were staggering. If they could master this process, understand and guide it, humanity wouldn't just survive this invasion. They would emerge from it with technology beyond anything they had ever imagined. But time was running out. The crystal transformations were accelerating worldwide, and Sarah's readings suggested something new was coming. The quantum signatures were changing, becoming more complex, more organized. Whatever intelligence had sent the crystals would eventually come to check on their progress. "We need to be ready," Sarah said, watching the crystal city in their test chamber grow and reshape itself. "When they arrive, they'll expect to find a transformed world. Instead, they're going to find humanity transformed, but not in the way they planned." The crystals pulsed with new patterns, as if acknowledging the challenge ahead. In labs and makeshift research stations around the world, humanity prepared for the next phase of their evolution, armed with nothing but their ingenuity and their newfound understanding of their silicon visitors. 3 months after the first crystal transformation, humanity stopped running and started fighting back. The breakthrough came from an unexpected source: a 16-year-old prodigy named Zora Patterson, who had been quietly experimenting with crystallized electronics in her father's garage in suburban Melbourne. Zara had discovered something the world's top scientists had missed. The crystals responded to music. Not just any music, but specific harmonic frequencies that, when played in precise patterns, could influence the crystal growth. She posted her findings on the remaining analog emergency networks, catching Dr. Chen's attention halfway across the world. Within days, Zara was video conferencing with Sarah's team through one of the few remaining secure channels. "It's like they're dancing," she explained, demonstrating with a crystallized tablet. As she played a sequence of tones through an old analog synthesizer, the crystals pulsed and shifted, forming new patterns with mathematical precision. Sarah immediately recognized the implications. "They're not just responding to the music," she told Colonel Harrison. "They're responding to wave patterns. We've been trying to communicate through quantum states, but they understand vibration at a fundamental level." The discovery revolutionized their approach. Teams worldwide began experimenting with different frequencies, mapping the crystal responses. Each breakthrough led to another, and soon they weren't just controlling the crystal growth. They were directing it, shaping it, using it to build new technologies that merged human innovation with alien efficiency. In the Detroit warehouse, now expanded into a full research complex, Sarah's team achieved their first major success. They managed to create a stable crystal matrix that could be programmed using sound waves. The applications were immediate and revolutionary. Within weeks, they had constructed the first human-designed crystal computer, a hybrid device that processed information through both quantum states and harmonic resonance. "It's not just faster than our old computers," Sarah explained to a gathering of military and scientific leaders. "It's fundamentally different. It thinks differently, solves problems differently, and most importantly, it can communicate with the other crystal structures without being absorbed by them." The implications were staggering. Humanity had found a way to ride the wave of transformation rather than being swept away by it. But it was Zora who pushed the boundaries even further. Working with Sarah's team, she discovered that the crystals could be used for more than just computing. "They're not just processors," Zora announced during one late-night session. "They're translators. The harmonics we're using, they're a language. We're not just controlling the crystals. We're talking to them." This revelation opened new doors. The crystal structures weren't just following programming. They were learning, adapting, evolving in response to human interaction. Each successful communication made the next easier, as if the crystals were eager to find common ground with their human partners. Underground facilities around the world began sprouting crystal gardens, controlled growth chambers where scientists and engineers experimented with new applications. They learned to grow crystal-based power sources that drew energy directly from quantum fluctuations. Transportation systems were reimagined as crystal networks could transmit not just information, but matter itself through quantum tunneling. But it was the defensive applications that really caught the military's attention. The crystals could be shaped into barriers that were virtually indestructible, absorbing and redistributing any energy directed at them. Cities began incorporating crystal structures into their infrastructure, creating safe zones where the transformation could be controlled and utilized. "We're not just surviving anymore," Colonel Harrison remarked, watching a demonstration of a crystal-based shield system. "We're thriving, using their own technology against them." Sarah wasn't so sure about the against part. The more they worked with the crystals, the more she suspected they were achieving exactly what their creators had intended, just not in the way they planned. Human creativity and adaptability had taken alien technology and transformed it into something entirely new. The breakthrough that confirmed her theory came 6 months into the crystal revolution. During a routine communication experiment, they received a response, not from Earth-based crystals, but from deep space. The signal was brief but clear. Something was coming. "They're checking on their experiment," Sarah announced to her team. "But instead of finding a transformed world, they're going to find transformed humans. We've taken their technology and made it our own." Zara, now a permanent member of the research team, was already working on new harmonics. "So let's make sure we're ready to show them what we can do with it." The crystal gardens pulsed with new energy as humanity prepared for first contact. They had taken an invasion and turned it into an opportunity, a plague, and transformed it into a revolution. The aliens had sent their crystals to change Earth, never expecting that Earth would change them instead. As Sarah watched her team work, humans and crystals in harmony, she couldn't help but smile. They had done more than survive. They had evolved. And soon, they would show the crystal's creators exactly what that evolution meant. They arrived on a Tuesday, just like the crystals had. 3 ships appeared in high Earth orbit, their hulls composed of the same crystalline structures that had transformed Earth's technology. Dr. James Okonjo, Earth's leading xenolinguist, stood in the crystal-enhanced command center beneath Geneva, watching the vessels through newly created quantum imaging systems. "They're waiting," he observed, noting how the ships maintained their position just beyond the moon's orbit. "This isn't what they expected to find." Beside him, Dr. Sarah Chen nodded. The aliens had clearly anticipated arriving in a fully transformed world, their crystalline technology having remade Earth in their image. Instead, they found a hybrid civilization, one that had taken their tools and reshaped them into something entirely new. The first transmission came through the crystal network itself, a complex harmony of quantum states and vibrational patterns that their systems immediately began translating. James watched as the message took shape, his years of studying alien communication patterns finally finding practical application. "They're calling themselves the Architects," he announced to the assembled global leadership. "They say they've been seeding worlds with their crystals for millions of years." He paused, processing the implications. "We're the first to adapt them, rather than be transformed by them." The Architect's message was both simple and profound. They were ancient, having evolved beyond biological form eons ago. The crystals were their means of uplifting other civilizations, transforming them into crystalline beings that could join their galactic network. But humanity had done something unprecedented. "We didn't just accept the transformation," Sarah explained, showing the alien representatives their research through quantum-linked displays. "We guided it, shaped it, made it our own. The crystals aren't just tools anymore, they're partners." The response from the Architects was unexpected. Their ships moved closer, crystal structures on their hulls resonating with Earth's network. James worked frantically to translate the complex quantum signals they were receiving. "They're curious," he said finally. "This has never happened before. They want to understand how we did it." What followed was the strangest first contact in human history. Instead of formal meetings or traditional diplomacy, the exchange took place through the crystal network itself. The Architects shared their knowledge directly through quantum harmonics, while humanity showed them how they had modified and improved upon the original crystal design. Zara Patterson, now heading her own research division at 16, made another breakthrough during the exchange. "Look at their reaction patterns," she pointed out during one session. "They're not just teaching us, they're learning from us. Our adaptations are changing them too." She was right. The Architect ships were subtly altering their configuration, incorporating human innovations into their own systems. The quantum harmonics they used for communication became more nuanced, more efficient, blending their ancient knowledge with human creativity. But not everything was proceeding smoothly. A faction among the Architects believed that humanity's deviation from the standard transformation process made them dangerous. They argued for a forced completion of the original program, which would have meant the end of human biological existence. The turning point came during a demonstration of Earth's crystal defense network, when one of the more aggressive Architect ships attempted to force a transformation pulse through the atmosphere. They found their energy absorbed and redirected by human-modified crystal shields. The defensive network didn't just protect Earth, it improved itself with each attack, learning and adapting just as humanity had learned to do. "You see," James transmitted through the crystal network, "we haven't corrupted your technology. We've helped it evolve. Just as you sought to evolve us, we found a way to evolve together." The concept of mutual evolution was foreign to the Architects, who had spent millions of years following the same patterns of transformation across countless worlds. Humanity's approach, maintaining their biological nature while integrating crystalline technology, represented something entirely new. Dr. Okonjo spent days in quantum communication with the Architects, explaining how human consciousness, with its capacity for creativity and adaptation, had formed a symbiotic relationship with the crystal network rather than being absorbed by it. The crystals enhanced human thinking, while human ingenuity found new applications for crystal technology. "We're not just another species to be transformed," he transmitted. "We're proof that there's more than one path to evolution. The crystals you sent didn't just change us, we changed them, and in doing so, we opened up possibilities you never imagined." As the Architects processed this information, their ships began to pulse with new patterns, harmonics that showed clear human influence in their design. They had come to Earth expecting to find another transformed world. Instead, they found something unprecedented, a species that had taken their technology and evolved it into something more than they had ever intended. The final confrontation between humanity and the architects began not with violence, but with a song. As the alien ships hovered above Earth, their crystalline forms pulsing with indecision, Zora Patterson initiated what she called the Harmony Protocol, a quantum resonance pattern that combined every breakthrough humanity had made in crystal communication. The effect was immediate and stunning. Crystal structures worldwide began resonating in perfect synchronization, creating a symphony of quantum harmonics that even the architects couldn't ignore. Dr. Sarah Chen watched from the Geneva Command Center as the alien ship's patterns shifted, attempting to process this unprecedented display of crystal mastery. "They're not just seeing what we can do," Dr. James Okonjo observed, monitoring the quantum translations. "They're experiencing how we think, how we create, how we adapt. We're showing them what they've been missing all these millions of years." The architects had spent eons perfecting their crystalline transformation process, repeating the same patterns across countless worlds. But humanity had shown them something new. The power of imperfection, of variation, of creative evolution. The human-modified crystals weren't just tools or weapons. They were a new form of life, born from the merger of alien precision and human imagination. Colonel Harrison, who had witnessed humanity's journey from victims to innovators, stood watching the quantum displays. All this time, they thought they were uplifting other species, she mused. They never considered that they might need some uplifting themselves. The truth of her words became apparent as the architect ships began to change. Their rigid crystalline patterns, unchanged for millions of years, started incorporating human-inspired variations. The quantum harmonics they used for communication became more nuanced, more flexible, showing clear signs of human influence. From her research station, now expanded into a global network of crystal-enhanced laboratories, Sarah monitored the transformation. "They're not just acknowledging our achievements," she realized. "They're learning from us. The student has become the teacher." The moment of true understanding came when the architects attempted to interface directly with Earth's crystal network. Instead of finding a partially transformed world waiting to be completed, they encountered a hybrid system that defied their ancient protocols. Human creativity had transformed their crystalline technology into something that even they, with their millions of years of experience, had never imagined possible. "Your species," the architects transmitted through the quantum network, their message translated by James, "has achieved what we thought impossible. You have not merely survived our transformation. You have transformed our transformation." The implications were staggering. Humanity hadn't just earned its survival. It had proven that there were other paths to advancement beyond the architect's rigid protocols. The crystals, meant to remake Earth in the architect's image, had instead become a bridge between two radically different forms of intelligence. Zara, working with teams of scientists worldwide, demonstrated how human emotion and creativity had enhanced the crystal network's capabilities. "The crystals don't just process information anymore," she explained to the architects through quantum harmonics. "They learn, adapt, and grow in ways your original programming never imagined. We didn't break your system. We helped it evolve." The architects' response changed everything. Instead of forcing their original transformation protocol, they proposed something unprecedented: a partnership. Humanity would retain its unique biological nature while continuing to develop crystal technology, becoming not subjects of the architects but their equals. "We have wandered the cosmos for millions of years," the architects transmitted, believing we were spreading enlightenment. "Instead, we found it here, in a species that showed us our own stagnation." The agreement that followed reshaped both civilizations. Earth became not just another transformed world in the architect's network, but a center of innovation where biological and crystalline intelligence evolved together. The crystal technology, enhanced by human creativity, spread throughout the solar system, transforming dead worlds into living crystal gardens that pulsed with both alien precision and human imagination. Sarah, standing in her lab 1 year after the first crystal transformation, watched as a new generation of human scientists worked alongside crystalline interfaces that merged the best of both civilizations. "We didn't just survive an invasion," she told her team. "We showed the invaders a better way forward." The crystals around them pulsed with new patterns, each one a testament to humanity's unexpected path. They had taken what was meant to be their end and turned it into a new beginning, proving that true evolution wasn't about replacing the old with the new, but about finding ways to grow together. As humanity and the architects began their joint exploration of the cosmos, they carried with them a profound truth. The greatest power in the universe wasn't the ability to transform others, but the wisdom to let them transform you in return. The crystal plague that had threatened to end human civilization had instead sparked an evolution that nobody, not even its ancient creators, could have predicted.